Good morning and welcome, Patriot Radio News Hour on a Hump Day Wednesday. I'm Joe Jaquint, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And, we're halfway through the week, and what a week this afternoon. I'm so excited. Eric will be live on 1360 KHNC. As most of you know, we bought the radio station up there in Colorado. So all of you listening, if you go to allamericangold.com, on the right-hand side, you'll see the link to 1360. It's got the American flag and 1360 KHNC. If you click on that, it'll take you to the radio station's website. And when the website loads, you'll see a big lion head with a play button on it. Just click that at 4 p.m. today, 4 p.m. Mountain Time, which is also Arizona time. So if you're in California, it's 3 p.m., and if you're in Chicago, it's going to be 5 p.m., but Eric will be live every day, Monday through Friday, starting at 4 p.m. So, and it's not a gold show. I have no idea what he's going to say, how he's going to say it. All I know is we will be entertained. So make sure that you tune in there. And obviously, you Colorado people, hey, I told you, change is coming. I'll give you this. It's not the only change that will be coming before the end of the week. That's all I'm going to say. Not the only change. A lot of great programming is coming. A lot of new advertisers are coming. AL Wire Repair, just the latest. We got several more wanting to join up, and we're in the process there. And if you want to sponsor Eric or be a part of that, give us a call. We'll help you do that as well. I know, a lot of things going on. A lot of things. Most of them are good. Right now we've got President Trump meeting with the North Korean leader and about de-arming the Korean peninsula. No one really, no one's expecting much out of that. They're meeting over there in Vietnam. We have the old Trump attorney testifying in front of Congress of what a bad guy Donald Trump is. You know, isn't it weird when you have really bad guys telling you how other guys are bad guys? He's testifying today as well. We've got Jay Powell. He's still talking in front of a lot of stuff, a lot of talking going on. I'll say this. Jay Powell talked about something very, very interesting. We'll share that with you. The Treasury auctions continue. You know, and I want you to understand, every day, and then we don't talk about it every day, but every day we got to load up on billions and billions. And it's not like we got to sell 5 or 10 billion a day. We're selling 60, 70, 80, 100, 120 billion dollars a day in debt. We have a continuation of where are all the buyers? I'm telling you, get ready. Remember what the Treasury's committee told them. Hey, we got to find a new buyer. The foreign guys aren't doing it. Well, we got to find somebody. They just use the word domestically. You know, Eric always used to say, if you're at a card game and you don't know who the patsy is, it's you. Yeah, we're at a card game right now. I mean, and here's the problem. We don't even know we're playing cards. Because it's all one big house of cards. We don't even know where it's going on. Well, the people that listen here know. Yeah, we're the patsies. Yeah, that new domestic source, I'll give you 3 guesses on how they're going to get it, and the first 2 don't count. 800-951-0592. And we'll go over, we had some data points out today. We'll go over those as well. We had factory orders, right? The big manufacturing recovery may be over. And then the war on cash picked up a little more steam today. Apparently, we've printed too many $100 bills. Yes. Hey, I'm just telling you. Too many $100 bills. We don't understand why. It's got to be nefarious activity. The problem with all these people that say this stuff, they don't know how much stuff costs out there. Hey, we're printing $100 bills. No one wants $1 bills ever because nothing costs $1. Even at the dollar stores, they don't cost $1. That's all. It's not a dollar store. And I was in the dollar store. I was actually in there the other day, and yeah. I mean, there was, don't get me wrong, there were some things that cost $1, but they had $3, $5, $8. I'm like, what? I was supposed to be $1. You can't even get a candy bar for $1. But yeah, the war on cash continues. I'll tell you about that. And I hope today I'm going to get to Australia's gold. Where is it? And do they actually own it? And you know what's so funny is nobody's really sure. Yeah. Well, they claim to know where it is. How about that? It's in the same place where Venezuela's gold is allegedly at. Patriot Radio News Hour. Got a great show for you. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back, 800-951-0592. I know that we're having a little technical difficulty up in Colorado, but we're here. If you notice a little variation in the quality there, we are having a streaming issue. Of course, right? Got Eric coming on at 4. We got a streaming issue, but we're doing it the old-fashioned way through the phone line there. So now we got a backup. So that's great news. So anyway, we'll hopefully have that fixed as quickly as possible. The Dow is down about 150 points today because the trade tensions with China apparently are back. The White House now saying that the president is refusing to cave to Beijing to strike a deal that would be tantamount to a payoff in the form of agricultural purchases. Again, I like I said all along, China's going to offer to buy more stuff. Apparently, they're at an impasse, and I don't know if maybe impasse is too strong of a word, but the Chinese so far not wanting to deal with any sort of issue in dealing with technology. And, well, let's call it what it is. The theft or the forced, I'll call it ransom, right? The forced ransom or outright theft of U.S. technology. So we'll have to wait and see. Of course, obviously the trade deadline was supposed to be Friday. The president said, hey, we're going to push that off a ways. This is the first time in a while where we got a little truth out of the White House, by the way, on the whole China trade thing. So that has definitely hurt the markets this morning, and I'll just be right there to tell you, I told you so. CNBC. Now, I don't think it's by accident that these guys are the ones that are reporting that there is a mysterious, okay, yes, this is the headline, a mysterious surge in $100 bill circulation. And it's possibly linked to global corruption. Right? Remember now, right? If you use cash and you have $100 bills, well, you're probably a bad guy. The amount of $100 bills in circulation is surging, and it's leaving economists scratching their heads. Wow, you know what? Maybe that's why I'm bald. Maybe I scratch my head too much. But I think it's actually, oh, okay, great. Just got a note handed to me. We're back in Colorado. See, we're getting better. Anyway, about these $100 bills and why these economists are so puzzled. And I know, listen, I'm not smart enough to understand economic policy. Right? Just ask Janet Yellen. She'll tell you. Now, listen, none of us are smart enough to really understand. We don't grasp the basics. Okay? Here's what I grasp. Everything costs too damn much. So is it shocking to anybody that there's more $100 bills out there? Yeah. The 100 is like the 20s when I was in high school. Right? You walked around in high school, hey, you had $20. That was a good amount of money. I mean, don't get me wrong, right? You can buy your lunch and a few other things, put some gas in the car. I don't want to make it sound like it was, an outrageous amount of money, but the $100 bill is like a 20 anymore. Really is. I remember the first time I saw one. It was at some charity event. My dad was in it was called the Optimist Club. And it was a bunch of guys that got together once a month, and they were, they did well. Successful people in their industry, and they did things. They did things for at-risk kids. And they had a poker event. And I remember that was the first time I had ever seen a $100 bill. And it was, and I wasn't very old. I was probably 8 or 9. And I was like, wow. And this was the one, this was the shrunken head hundreds, right? Now we got the hundreds. It's got the big head, and we got the blue stripe. And, we've added a bunch of stuff to it. But this was the old shrunken head $100 bills. And that guy was a big deal. I won't tell you his name, but he was the car dealer, by the way, in case you wanted to know. That's how well I remember it. But now economists they're scratching their head because the number of outstanding $100 bills has doubled since the financial crisis. Now, I can tell you where it is, right? It's in people's safes. It's under their mattress, right? It is. I'm just telling you, this is how people are funny this way, right? They want to have, hey, I need my emergency fund. Here's the problem, right? The emergency fund, maybe you needed like $1,000 in the 70s. Right now, the emergency fund, people need 10, 15, 20,000. Right, and even that might not be enough, right? So the amount you got to have is so much bigger. Again, because everything costs so much. More than 12 billion $100 bills worldwide, according to the latest data from the Fed. The C note has passed the $1 bill in circulation. The $1 bills they're becoming annoying, right? I mean, the penny is really annoying, but the $1 bill, it's annoying because you can't buy anything with it. Today I was driving into work. It was about 5:30 this morning, and I had like 8 $1 bills in my wallet. And it takes up too much room. I was so happy I got a burrito before it was like $6, and I gave them 6 of my ones, and I instantly felt lighter. They don't buy anything. Economists believe the surge is related to people around the world wanting to hoard cash, a similar force that's driven the interest in cryptocurrencies. Right, okay. High denomination, high value currency notes historically have been the preferred payments for criminals. There it is. Yep, see? It's the number one thing. And they said that the lack of transaction records and relative ease of which they can be brought across the borders. So just think about that sentence, right? First, they give probably the real reason, right? Hey, everyone saw all their paper investments worth crap. And again, if you're holding $100 bills at your house, call us. Turn it into gold. You're going to be glad you did. And I'll be honest with you, every week that goes by is another week. I'm like, okay, well, I got through that week. Sooner or later, the end of cash is coming. Right? And I keep telling you about it. Right? At least I give you my anti-money laundering reports. Remember, I'll read them to you when I get them. I'm due to get one here because it's another year. I'm sure I'll get sent another one. I'll share it with you. I get charged now from my bank to put cash in. They call me to ask why my cash deposits are so big. I mean, all of these things, right? This is the bank. You think they should love it. Hey, you're putting deposits in the bank. They don't like it this way. And you heard the real reason. Lack of a transaction record. They want to know. And they're going to know. Right? Because at the end of the day, listen, we really don't own anything. With a stroke of a pen, the government can just take it from us. You're going to find out, too, with Treasury bills pretty soon. You're going to own a bunch of those, too, and not want to. They're saying that there's big conversation now. The growth in $100 bills in circulation worldwide has nothing to do with the U.S. economy. It doesn't. It has absolutely a lot to do with the U.S. economy. But just ask the economists. They'll tell you otherwise. Nothing to do with interest rates either. Listen, if you're not going to get paid interest, why have the money in the bank? Why have any more money in that bank than you need to? Because you know, and I told you, the second you put the money in the bank, it is not yours. Right? You don't believe me? Go ask the people in Greece. Go ask the people in Cyprus. Ask Chinese people, Spanish citizens of Chinese descent in Spain today, whether the money's theirs or not. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. You'll find it. There's certainly enough evidence to say it is an enabler of corruption. It is a way for people to keep assets outside the financial system in a bulky way. Well, that part may be true, right? That, hey, yeah, people don't want it in there. The number of $100 bills abroad began surging after the Gulf War and the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan, according to the data. I wonder how that happened. Let's think. What could have possibly led to that? All of a sudden, we go into Iraq and Afghanistan, and $100 bills just magically start appearing. How could that be? Oh, that's right. We were dropping them by the pallet loads out of airplanes. Go figure. I think I solved it. Wait a minute, though. I forgot. I don't understand basic economic policy, so obviously that can't be it, right? We didn't just fly them in by the pallet loads and start handing it out all over the place, right? Listen, I'll say this. Even the Iraqis and the Afghanis didn't want dollar bills, okay? Right? Pallets of $1 bills wasn't going to be enough. They said, driven by global fear of negative interest rates in Europe and Japan, that could be a factor. Listen, rates are going to go negative everywhere, including right here. Just look at the auctions. Pay attention to what I'm telling you. Nobody wants any more debt. In a research paper from the Federal Reserve of Chicago, it estimates that 60% of all U.S. bills and 80% of $100 bills are overseas. Again, right? We keep flying these airplanes over there. Listen, if we get our way in Venezuela, trust me, there's going to be a bunch of C-130s landing in there with pallets of $100 bills. It says that the demand for U.S. currency is challenging. I didn't know this. It's a challenge. Well, again, another reason why they'll want to get rid of it. And they said that how quickly they can get rid of it will depend on new payment technologies. See, isn't that better now? Right? Instead of handing the bad guys who we're partnering with to get rid of another guy that we think's a bad guy. Because don't mistake it. Whether it was Iraq, Afghanistan, and Venezuela, we're just trying to place one person who we think's a bad guy with a different person that's a bad guy. It'd be a lot easier if they could just electronically do it. That way we wouldn't see the planes with the pallets.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report, a daily broadcast launched by Phyllis Schlafly, who served as an articulate voice for traditional values for more than 70 years. Upholding that legacy and himself an author, national speaker, and attorney, here's the president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, Ed Martin.
When it comes to the Second Amendment, most liberals leave logic at the door when they form their opinions. However, now it looks like Pittsburgh Mayor William Peduto is choosing to leave the law at the door, too. In the wake of the tragic shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Peduto is calling for a total ban on semi-automatic firearms, bump stocks, and so-called high-capacity magazines. According to him, a ban enforced with confiscation orders is the best way to prevent more mass shootings from taking place. For the moment, let's put aside the fact that Peduto's plan would do nothing to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. Let's even put aside the fact that this plan would stomp all over the Second Amendment as clarified by the 2008 D.C. versus Heller decision. On top of all this, Peduto's plan could never work because it is a clear violation of Pennsylvania state law. Under the state's preemption law, no city or county government can make gun control laws stricter than the state's laws. Mayor Peduto is smart enough to know that what he is pushing is illegal, but he doesn't seem to care. That is the philosophy you will run into when you're up against the gun control crowd. For them, it's not about what is legal or what will be effective. All they care about is getting a political football into the end zone. Of course, there are many people who are innocently fooled into believing the misinformation spread about the gun issue. When big names like Mayor Peduto pretend that owning a semi-automatic firearm is something abnormal, it's easy to be tricked into supporting a ban. When the media throws around meaningless terms like assault weapons, it's easy to be scared into wanting them gone. Don't expect the left to play fair on this issue. As Mayor Peduto demonstrated, they will do anything they can to win the day, even if it means stripping you and me of our right to defend ourselves. That is why it is up to conservatives to know what we are talking about. Knowledge really is power, especially on the issue of the Second Amendment.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report with Ed Martin, president of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. It's time to hear the truth, not the media lies, about gun rights. At phyllisschlafly.com, we've got strategies to protect American citizens, protect ourselves, and protect the Second Amendment. For the latest on the constitutionally protected right to bear arms, go to phyllisschlafly.com. Thanks for listening, and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
800-951-0592. Just a real quick to finish this. Harvard wrote a research paper about the need to eliminate the high denomination, high value currency notes. And in that paper, they said by eliminating these high denomination, high value notes, we'd make life harder for those pursuing tax evasion, financial crimes, terrorist financing, and corruption. Don't be an idiot. Listen, This all has to do about the banks catering and pandering to criminals. And now because of that, right, they're going to take away our cash. Well, and this is what they want, right? Everything in. They don't want you to have the ability to store your gold or your money at your house. They don't want that. They need it all in the system. That way, when it crashes, right, they can take it away from everybody. How about this one? So I've been meaning to get to this for the last few days. The Reserve Bank of Australia claims to have 80 metric tons of gold stored in a bailment agreement and an allocated gold account with the Bank of England. Obviously stored in the vaults in London. Right? And a lot more, you're seeing more and more of these countries telling not only the London Central Bank, the UK Central Bank, the US Central Bank, hey, give us that gold back. By the way, bailment just means that the Bank of England is the custodian. So if you set up a hard precious metals IRA with us, which you can do, right, you don't get to store it at your house. Okay? That's not legal. We won't do it. Don't even call and ask us to. There's companies out there that say you can, you cannot. Matter of fact, the IRS has actually added to the tax code, like we needed a bigger tax code specifically about that. If you have an IRA with us in hard assets, in gold and silver, it's stored at the depository in Delaware, right? And we use a company called Gold Star Trust. They're the custodians. But in this case, the Bank of England is the custodian for the RBA's gold. And they have specific serial numbers that go with these gold bars that allegedly the Reserve Bank of Australia has title to. However, there have been there's never been, kind of like us, any physical independent audits of the gold, which means there's no way to verify that the Reserve Bank of Australia claims that all the gold is there that they claim to have. Now, I don't know if there's a secret little deal where whenever Australia decided to store that gold, if somebody sent them an Excel spreadsheet with the serial numbers on it, right? Hey, by the way, here's your gold, and here's all the bars, and here's all the serial numbers that go with the bar. I mean, it'd be pretty easy to do. Apparently, and again, it's got to be a secret, which tells you, right, if you want to know if there's nefarious activity going on, try to shed some light on it. And when you do shed the light on it, if you meet resistance, that should tell you something. Right? It's just like auditing the Federal Reserve, right? You mention the word audit and Federal Reserve in the same sentence, and they freak out. In 2013, the Bank of England allowed the Royal Bank, the Bank of Australia, to do a partial audit of some of the RBA's gold holdings. But the results of the audit remained secret, even after the Freedom of Information request, right? We do that here as well, right? Hey, when we want to know something. The documents from this audit were blocked by both the Bank of England and the Bank of Australia. So the Reserve Bank of Australia and the Bank of England said, "Now we're not going to release that." Most importantly, the critical document to any gold holdings held under bailment is a proper weight list of the gold bars in the holding itself. And it goes on to say, hey, we've got some issues there. The Reserve Bank of Australia has not made any gold purchases nor any sales in the last 20 years. Matter of fact, I think the Bank of Australia did all of their gold selling like in the mid-90s. right? They were part of, remember, I told you guys this, that, hey, all of these central banks were sellers, right? Now, they're either what? Buyers? Bring my gold home? Or they're like the Bank of Australia, which says, hey, we haven't done anything yet. Up until 1996, the Australian Central Bank held nearly 247 metric tons of gold. Boy, don't you wish they probably had all of that gold back? They're now questioning whether Western central banks, and I think this is why, another reason, because I keep asking, why are all these banks wanting their gold back? What's happened? What's changed? Right? I mean, the golds have been in New York and in London for decades and decades and decades. I mean, all the way back to like World War I. What's happened? And I think this may be a big part of it, which is talking about who actually owns the gold. And that our Western central banks, quote unquote, leasing not only their own gold, but possibly the gold that is being held on bailment to keep the prices of gold in check. And is it possible that the 80 tons of gold that Australia has left, either A, not actually at the Bank of England any longer, because whoever they leased it to decided they wanted delivery of the gold, and or if the gold still is there, does somebody else at least have a claim for possible ownership of the gold? That is what is being talked about. And now people are starting to worry that the Bank of Australia may be one of the banks that gold may not be there. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. 800-951-0592, the Reserve Bank of Australia. Now, people inside Australia are starting to ask questions. You can find the whole article. When I said, don't take my word for it, at RT.com. RT.com. The article, Hey UK, it's not just Venezuela. What happened to Australia's gold? And I didn't even think about this part, right? Because it is odd, right? And all of you know, right, of course, Venezuela is now the bad guy. And is it interesting that they're the bad guy at the same time they asked for all of their gold to come home? Is it possible that Venezuela was going to potentially say, hey, wait a minute. This isn't the gold we sent you guys. These aren't the right serial numbers. I'm just saying, right? And, of course, obviously, right, we're not giving it to them because he's a bad guy. I just asking the question. According to RT.com, they're claiming that based on the actual import records of countries like China and India and all this, right? We know there's a huge pattern of the gold going from the west to the east. And looking at the import numbers from all of these countries, right? And you go to a country where they all publish it, right? It's all common knowledge. Right, this is what we imported. This is what we exported. This is what we imported. This is what we exported. And there's two types, by the way, of gold: non-monetary and monetary. So non-monetary gold, right? That's your gold that comes out of the mines, right? That's your gold that is used for jewelry and all of those things. That is not central bank owned gold. Okay, so you got non-monetary gold, and then you have monetary gold. And obviously, we know what the published records are of those, right? 2018, as an example, at least published, was a all-time record high of central bank or monetary gold buying being done by central banks since the closing of the gold window in 1971. Australian economists say the numbers don't add up. Hey, in other words, we're doing the math here. We know what the production numbers were out of the mines. We know what the scrap numbers were, right? We know all that stuff. Right? We know at least the announced monetary sales. I'm not, obviously, my feelings about China, what they say they have. Well, I think they got a lot more than that. They say that's not enough gold. That there has to be another source. Right? Kind of like the Treasury Department letting all of us know, hey, by the way, we need another source of buyers for the treasuries. What they're saying is there has to be another source of the gold. We couldn't have sent this much gold to China, to India, to these other countries unless they started dipping into central bank's gold and started shipping that gold to these customers and don't want people to know it. Right? The old, hey, I'll just ship them Australia's gold. I'll replace it later. Right? That old chestnut. Right? I'll just replace it later. And they're going on about all the audits or lack thereof. And now they're saying that they want to bring the gold home. Now, the Australian government, I want to be clear on this, the Australian government has not made that statement. But people inside Australia, right, the ones that did the research and published it said, hey, listen, we better get our gold because it's probably not there. And you think about Australia. Australia is the third or fourth largest gold producer in the world. I mean, they've got a sophisticated gold industry. The rationale claimed by the Reserve Bank of Australia that it stores its gold in London, so to be in proximity to the London gold trading markets, is wearing thin. Right? This has always been, this is where the gold gets traded, and we want our gold near it. That way, if we need to sell it, it can go faster. Of course, no one's selling it now. Given that the Bank of England has now confiscated the gold of Venezuela's central bank, this is sovereign gold of another nation which was placed into a custodian agreement, right? Stored in a foreign central bank, and now they can no longer have it. See, it's the same thing, right? They decide we're the bad guys. We can't get our gold back. All central banks that store gold bars at the Bank of England should now sit up and take note that storing gold at the Bank of England is a wealth hazard fraught with political and confiscational risk. Well, there you have it. Right? It's another reason why I always tell you, where's the best place to have your gold? Where only you know where it's at. 800-951-0592. That is our toll-free number. Listen, we called everywhere. Not a lot of gold out there, not a lot of silver out there. I'll tell you what we do have here in the final segment when we return. Final segment here on this Wednesday. This just in. So Jay Powell still testifying in front of Congress. At least in my eyes, drops a bombshell, says that the Federal Reserve is close to agreeing on a plan to end the bond sell-off. So the quantitative tightening, as they call it. Right? Remember, right? The Treasury bought just under $4 trillion of debt. Right? They just made it up out of thin air. And we're in the good times, right? We're going to, sell that off, lower that. They were supposed to get down to like $2 trillion. Looks like the number I'm seeing right now, maybe $3.8 trillion, that they are very close to ending the bond selling program, and they will make light of this very soon. And he said inflation is nowhere to be found. Yeah, there's no worry. And again, right? Obviously, right? Pay no attention to that report about $100 bills because, only criminals, a lot more drug dealing going on here is what it is. The dollar's great. The dollar bill buys a lot of stuff. I don't know. 800-951-0592. You know what we need? Like a Pinocchio reader, right? We need to have these guys strap up to the lie detector, right? And then what we need, instead of Jay Powell testifying in front of Congress, Jay Powell needs to go on the Maury show, right? And Maury can say, the lie detector said, that's not true more than a million times. That's what we need, right? We'll just turn it into a little show there like Springer, get Maury Povich out there, get the lie detector test going, right? Get the Pinocchio nose going. But nonetheless, as I said, huge demand, right? Silver Eagle sales. Anybody wanted Silver Eagles, multiple week delay. I'm sure that we'll have more news on that on Monday. When we do, I'll give it to you. The gold side, the deals just aren't that great today. What I do have, though, those rolls of half dollars. I got my hands on a bunch of them. Listen, they're $130. That's cheap for half dollars. These are pre-1965 silver half dollars. $130. I mean, just bringing Eric back on the air is a great way. You want to support us and support what we're doing, getting Eric back on, buy these half-dollar rolls, $130 a roll. You get 20 of them. They're going to be a mix, right? You're going to get Jim Walkers and some Franklins, the Kennedys. 800-951-0592. The Dow is down. It's off the low because they, again, Wall Street loves that, right? Hey, oh, good. And the bond buying program. Let me tell you why it's really going to end. It has nothing to do with inflation. It has to do with the fact nobody's buying the bonds. And tomorrow, I'll tell you what, I've got another report about it. I didn't get to it today. I did the Australia. Tomorrow, fingers crossed, unless something comes up, I'll get to how the Treasury auctions are really going. And again, this is another update to what they already told the Treasury earlier. Hey, we need to find a new buyer, which means, hey, stop selling them. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back tomorrow.